Okay, day 11, back of the envelope, or BOE, or back of the napkin. This is probably where most people wanted me to start, because I know in speaking to investors as they come into commercial real estate, they want to understand the numbers, the metrics, like how do I underwrite this, Shane? And while I used to be tempted, and I actually would actually do these numbers with new investors, what I found is that if they didn't have a foundation for what are they investing in, how much do they need, what's most important to them, then doing all these BOEs was, I don't want to say a waste of time, because it obviously helped them, but it was giving them a kind of step 4 when they really needed to understand the first the first elements that we've already done, days 1 through 10. So hopefully you've done all that work. I've kind of outlined where you should be at right now, understanding your FU number, understanding the macro and micro fundamentals. I know I've had some questions come in on, well, Shane, should I go retail? Should I go industrial? We're going to talk about that next week. I'm going to get more into the specifics of what to look for in properties. But the reality is, initially, look at both, because I want you to get kind of an understanding of both. Really, there's not that many, right? There's apartments, there's industrial, and retail. Multifamily is fairly simple to understand for the most part. Retail and industrial might take a little bit more time, but in every market, it's going to be somewhat dependent. And based on your prior history and what you understand, I mean, if you are in an industry where you understand industrial properties a little bit more, or what the tenants are looking for, then I would say go industrial. I mean, I'm working with a couple of gentlemen right now, and they are really kind of transitioning to industrial because their own companies have leases in industrial buildings. So I said, okay, well, ask to see if you can see the leases. They look at the leases and they understand what it is. Like they understand from a tenant's perspective what space should be and what kind of works for them. So at least they have some inside knowledge, if you will. If you don't have any of that and retail seems a little more intuitive, then certainly go down that path. But like I said, I mean, this takes time. It might take you 6 months to figure this out. And so it's not going to happen overnight, and certainly kind of play the long game. So back to today though, we're going to do BOEs. I've given you an example below, and then I've given you some homework. And really what this is a value add retail property. I've changed some of the numbers, but this is a property that I was helping a client with. And so I understand the numbers, and this is exactly how I showed him how to underwrite it. So you're gonna see how to calculate some key numbers, right? How to calculate the NOI, how to calculate cash on cash with equity pay down, which is essentially what is my cash on cash return plus the principal pay down on the mortgage. I like to calculate that, even though I'll call it phantom income, because you're not able to spend it until you sell the property, but it's still there. So it's an important calculation, and I think one that is valuable to calculate. So and this obviously is leveraging a concept of forced appreciation, right? So we're buying a property with, in this case, 2,000 square feet of vacancy. You're going to fill that vacancy. However, I've put some assumptions in there that I want you to underwrite into the deal. And what I'd like is to see your calculations below. I literally Googled how to, or financial calculator or something like that online, and I was able to find a really good one in 2 seconds. But this is usually what I use right here. This is just an HB10, and I do all my math right on this. And I've actually got an app on my phone that I use as well. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of figure that out. You don't need to worry about that. If you feel more comfortable using Excel or an online calculator, it really doesn't matter. The purpose is to just get comfortable running the numbers, understanding what you're looking for, and then factoring in debt, because obviously with real estate, especially commercial real estate, leverage really amplifies your returns. Obviously, too much leverage has the inverse effect, where you can, if you take on too much debt and your NOI goes down, you can be underwater very quickly. So you just want to be mindful of that. That's why I've used 70% debt, 30% equity. I think that that's a pretty reasonable assumption to put into these initial calculations. So the other thing I want to mention is the sequence on how you calculate the numbers is important. So look at what I've done: income, expenses, NOI, cash on cash with equity pay down, and then you start to like obviously layer in the debt. All those kind of things are important. That's it. Have fun with this. Hopefully it doesn't take too much time, but understand that even if you're struggling a little bit on these first ones, it just gets easier and easier. I mean, I've got clients now that after a couple of weeks of doing this, looking at properties on a continuous basis, they're able to bang out a BOE in maybe 10 minutes, right? So it might take me a little bit less time, but I've been doing it for 10 years, but they're still able to do it, and it's shocking. And the confidence they get, because now if they're sitting with a broker or they're sitting with a seller or they're looking at a deal, they've got that, okay, I know how much this is worth. I know I'm looking at it on a price per foot. I know I'm looking at it on an NOI basis. I know what the value should be. And it's just really cool to see. So I'm excited for you to get into this. Today is just retail, industrial, office. We'll do multifamily probably tomorrow. So that's it. Get to work on the homework, and I'll see you tomorrow.